No, that has genuinely, that tip you gave me though has completely changed my connection on the leg extension.
Welcome back to the YouTube, guys. The last time we was here was 2 days out from the natural pro qualifier before you got your pro status and Cree got the pro status. So since then, guys, we've been relentlessly working towards a pro debut. We're now currently 7 weeks away from starting prep. And do you want to talk a little bit about improvements in terms of like what we've done, what you've seen in your physique?
Yeah, so this time there's been a huge focus in this off-season, although it hasn't been the longest off-season. I feel like it has been so efficient in just regards to the training that we've adapted. It's been so focused on bringing up the quads and the hamstrings just to create that overall lower body balance. I feel like during my amateur time, my glutes were quite an impressive part of my physique, and it was something that made me do quite well in my shows. And now that we're at this pro level, there's no one amazing body part, because all of these pros have absolutely incredible glutes, and it's really about trying to make sure my physique is as balanced as possible. So that's been kind of our biggest focus over this off-season phase, is just bringing up those quads and those hamstrings. And a lot of that has taken a lot of concentration within my training sessions, I'll be completely honest, just to really make sure I'm connecting with their movements. And I do feel like from my physique at the moment, it is the most balanced that my lower body has looked in regards to how my quads, glutes and hamstrings look with one another. So I'm just excited now to go through prep and see how that looks when it's peeled, basically.
And I think Paige mentioned a really important point there in how short the off-season's been, but how productive it's been. And I feel like a lot of this has come down to, one, your maturity as an athlete in managing that reverse process, and secondly, just really re-establishing that standard that we want to be working at as a pro. Obviously, being an amateur is very different to being on the pro level. Obviously, you act like a pro before you become a pro. Then when you are a pro, it's a completely different level of focus and intensity on a day-to-day basis. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that.
And that's one thing that's made the off-season so productive, is from that reverse process, there wasn't any extreme off-plan eating. There wasn't any real need for too much of a relaxed approach. Post-show, you was relatively focused and ready to just get to work on that kind of off-season phase, which I feel like has allowed us to manage composition extremely well. It's allowed us to make progress because there's not been any times we've had to pull back food or be conservative in certain areas. It's been a case of literally turning pro, relit the fire again, work, which has allowed us to make such significant progress in a short period of time. So we've got quads and glutes today. We're going to run you through a little bit of the session and give you an insight to some of the things that we've adapted to training to whilst being a pro. With so much noise in the industry when it comes to train this way, eat that way, be coached this way, don't be coached this way, what do you think one thing that's allowed you to stay tunnel visioned throughout our coaching journey on just me giving you instructions and trusting me through that process?
I know that if I'm listening to the opinions of everyone else, I overthink things to the point of where I'm not happy and I don't enjoy the process of it. And I think I've trusted you from the start. When I first started with you, like, I knew absolutely nothing about bodybuilding as in within the sport, and I saw from trusting you the results that yielded. So I've kind of just stuck with that because it's always worked.
As in, like, don't fix what isn't broken kind of thing.
Yeah, and I also think as well that you've coached me now for 3 years, over 3 years. You know my physique, my body better than anybody else, and I know that the advice that I get from other people, like for example, a lot of my quad training, I've had people say like, oh, you need to go deeper than that, you need to go beyond that. But from having conversations with you in regards to my body and what I connect with and what works with me, like that's something that we've navigated together to find how I recruit those muscles. So we've tailored everything to work for my body, not just a one-size-fits-all approach. So I'm not going to listen to the advice of other people when they know absolutely nothing about me. And a lot of the time, they're just copying and pasting information that they've seen online as well, you know?
Yeah. Yep. 2 or 3 reps up?
Huh?
2 or 3 reps up?
2.
2. Nice. Happy with that?
Yeah. That's one thing we've changed as well, in the sense of going to failure for the muscle and like failure of, like, I could have probably pushed for another rep and my knees would have caved. There was no point. Whereas before I was like, that's not failure unless I physically can't move the weight in some way.
Keep it on the quads. Drive. So whenever you get across the line from being amateur to pro, I really feel like there's a deep level of self-reflection that needs to happen in how you can edge forward with the percentages needed to improve. Because the likelihood is for you to have turned pro, you're going to have had to been very meticulous with training and nutrition to get across that line. Then once you do turn pro, you're really working with minute percentages when it comes to improvements to really step forward in the pro leagues. What would you say has been some areas for yourself where you've really had to lock in when it comes to either mindset, when it comes to either food or nutrition approach? Obviously, I know what we've worked on. Is there anything you personally worked on in the transition from being amateur to pro?
I definitely think reversing out, it made a huge difference to my reversal out process, in the sense of I was like, come on, you're a pro now, you need to reverse like a pro would. So definitely think that it has kind of affected my mindset towards that. In regards to training, it was a little bit of I'm someone where a lot of my enjoyment in training comes from lifting really heavy weights. Like, I find that really fun, but in order for me to get that quad development and that hamstring development, I really had to strip all of that back and really learn how to connect with the muscle groups again. Same with back actually as well, with like lats. And that initially was a bit like, right, let the ego go, and knowing that I have still got a place for that, in the sense of when I train glutes, it's a muscle group I connect with like that. So I can have those sessions where I can go a little bit heavier, lift some heavy weights, but understanding that in order for me to get to where I want to be, it isn't always going to be what you find the most enjoyable, but knowing that that's going to be creating the physique that I'm wanting in the long term and going to yield me those results makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, 100% agree. So one piece of advice that I always give clients, guys, especially ones that struggle to connect with certain muscles, is really thinking about switching the muscle on before you then engage in the movement. So instead of Paige just unracking and going from A to B in the movement, it's unrack, feel the quads engage and switch on, then descend into the eccentric. Not a case of just unrack straight in. Because that's the mistake you'll see, especially if you've got stronger muscle groups, they're going to instantly take over. So switch on the muscle you want to train, then descend into the movement or ascend into the movement. I really believe, guys, that on the highest levels of coaching, there becomes more and more of an importance for a psychological understanding of your client. And this naturally comes with time, especially as you build rapport through years and years of competing. I feel like, especially coaching you now, I know when I need to get out certain elements of your personality. I feel like I know when I need to make you aggressive towards a certain lift or a certain session. I know when I need to keep you very calm and very relaxed towards the process. And I feel like the further we go into this, there's still obviously importance when it comes to nutrition and training, but I feel like the further and deeper we go, there's a larger emphasis on the psychological side of things to really get the most out of you when it comes to being the best athlete possible, rather than just the training and nutrition. Would you agree on that front?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree on that. And I also think actually a lot of the adherence within the training and nutrition comes from that psychological aspect, being in the best place.
I think yesterday when you trained back was a prime example. When I said to you, I was like, you need to put my weight on. You're not training this heavy enough. Like, you really need to go in on this the same way you do glutes. And little things like that, I think the way you then, what was it you said after you did that set?
I was like, I felt part of my back, I haven't felt.
Exactly, and I think if I hadn't have approached that conversation in that way, you may not have done the set that way. So I do think the further and deeper you go into coaching, the more mindset and psychological roles need to be encouraged. Let's go. Drive. Yeah. Really good step. Really good step. Mindset coming into the pro debut is we want to do as well as we physically can, but we're also kind of taking that mentality that this is a completely different league, and it's almost nice in a way because you're coming into this like a first timer again. There's no pressure because there's no expectation there. It's all about going in with an improved package that we've worked relentlessly hard on and seeing where we stand in that lineup, and ultimately seeing what judges like the look, the difference between the way that we want to come in. Obviously, being natural in open pro shows is going to be a balancing act of trying to find the look that suits us best amongst the other competitors, rather than just trying to bring either an extremely conditioned look or an extremely full look as an amateur. It's going to be a case of trialing multiple different looks across that season, whilst we do open and natural shows. So one mistake I see a lot of coaches make is rushing their athletes' progression. And this is something that I feel like has been really well managed between myself and you through this kind of coaching relationship. Is we've gone from being the bottom as an amateur to now going to be competing as a very good pro. I really don't believe we've rushed the process to get you where you are, but I feel like we've also made significant progression in the time frame we've had together. And I see this happen a lot with coaches pushing a certain method on a client too fast, and then that leads to the client either falling out of love with bodybuilding, struggling with certain areas, whether that's food or not liking those training methods. I feel like one thing we've done progressively as you've matured as an athlete is continuously raise the standards as you've progressed as an athlete. And I feel like that's allowed you to really enjoy the process we've done and climb the ranks at a relatively fast pace, because we haven't forced a certain methodology which has made you then fall out of love with the process. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree. Almost in a way, kind of like that first prep, in the sense of like, you very gradually increased my output up, very gradually reduced the food down, so that it wasn't like 100% all in straight away. That would almost make me, I almost like adapted to the new environment as we kind of went through the process of it. And I 100% agree with you, because I think longevity in this sport is going to be the key thing, because it's all about doing things over a long period of time consistently. And I think if you almost go a little bit too hard too soon, like you said, you end up almost like overpowered by it, and then you just want to step away because it's too much. Whereas we have gradually just like kind of raised the bar as we've kind of progressed through.
And one thing I think is really true is you can't rush maturing as an athlete without the experience of the process. So you see this so often where a first timer will join a very, very high level coach, and that high level coach will try and implement a strategy that they use with pros for reversing with first timers. And then that first timer will develop so many struggles and challenges through trying to reverse like a pro when they haven't learned to reverse like an amateur yet. So I think really taking your time as a coach to meet your athletes where they're at and allow them to mature through the process as you raise the standards is so important.
Yeah, especially at this moment in time as well. I feel like there's a lot, particularly social media wise at the moment, with a lot of people who have once been within bodybuilding who now just kind of seem to hate the sport. And I do think it's more because of the way that they were kind of exposed to it, as opposed to what the sport is itself.
Yeah. Good. Let's go. Up, higher. One thing you'll see in all of Paige's quad movements, guys, is we're extremely parallel with everything. So you'll see in the hip press, everything's aligned. Feet, ankles, quads. Same on this, same on the hack squat. It's a big misconception, in my opinion, with leg and quad training. There's a lot of people who say either turn your feet outwards, go with a wider stance. Your only consideration isn't just how much knee flexion you can get, it's also how parallel the quads are running with everything else. So you'll see as an example, if Paige jumps on this quick, so many people will abduct outwards and relax, and it's gonna hit a lot more VMO. Yeah, we're not trying to be too specific with a leg extension, but when you're really trying to maximize as much quad engagement, coming parallel and allowing the weight to run completely in line with your quads is really gonna allow you to fire up every fiber there.
No, that has genuinely, that tip you gave me though, has completely changed my connection on a leg extension.
It's ridiculous, because I even see this so often, I'm sure you do. So many people can stack the leg extension, but the legs don't reflect lifting the stack. And again, it's so counterproductive, because all that's gonna happen is you're gonna get knee niggles, you're gonna get issues then lapping into other movements, and ultimately you're just lifting a ton of weight for the sake of lifting more weight when it's not resulting to more gains. Whereas you bring that down, you do it properly, you align everything, it's gonna, one, feel better, second, you're gonna make more progress, and third, you're not gonna be in a position where you're then developing injuries long term. So in terms of time frames, guys, we're looking at prepping for around 24 weeks. Now, the real benefit of Paige's pro season that we've got lined up is all of the shows that we're aiming for are within like a month. In the time frame that obviously the shows are booked is within 1 month or just slightly over. So it gives us a really nice proximity to work with. As an amateur, our shows were very dotted around and we kind of played conditioning based on coming in for that last show. Whereas the plan for this pro debut is to be ready for the first pro show. As again, the conditioning difference is going to be significantly tighter. And we also want to make sure that we're not going to be in a position where we're trying to continuously remove body fat throughout and between shows. It will just be a case of refining the look in between the shows. So 24-week preps planned. Starting composition is exactly where we want it to be. And we're being a lot more meticulous with the variables that we're tracking towards the end of the off season to make sure that blood glucose is in check so that we're not having any wasted weeks of the prep trying to toggle output or toggle nutrition to get things moving. It'll be a case that week 1 of the prep starts very assertive, very straight in with the changes, and we'll see those adjustments that we want. Nail it, 1 set. Good, let's go. Good, it's dropping off. Come on, it's dropping off. Again. Go the hamstrings down, hamstrings down, hamstrings down. There, up, go, 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 go. Yeah, nice.
Like, the first couple reps, you're like, that's so easy. And then you get about 5 reps in, you're like, oh, damn. It like flies up the...
Oh, damn.
Oh, damn.
One thing I'm going to put money on, so I can see in the future, is with your legs now, you had very good separation when you was on stage between VMO and quads. Your separation from the hip down this time, mark my words, it's going to be night and day difference. When you hit your front pose, the splits you're going to get from the rectum down this time based on how much more developed your quads are going to be night and day difference. You're going to have lines and splits coming from here down rather than just here. That's one thing I'm putting money on now. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for watching the YouTube today. You will likely see another video from us around 1 to 2 weeks out as we're getting ready for the first show of the season. Have you got any closing thoughts on how you're feeling for the season, what it's like to be a pro now, to the camera for anyone that's followed the journey?
You know, I'm just really excited this season. I do feel like a first timer again, and I'm just kind of excited to stand next to the pros that I've like looked up to since I started this journey, and to just kind of hang in the mix with them, get as much feedback as possible, and yeah, just then make plans for the future ahead.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.